Let's smash it.
Yeah.
We're in.
Yeah.
Rocking and rolling, mate.
Hold on, does it say? It says, please. I think you've got to give me permission to record, unless you want to just send me the file after. That'll be
I
easy
can
enough,
send you the file. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, shoot over after rather than messing about.
All right,
yeah,
brother.
dude. I don't know what you had planned, but I'll leave it
Mate,
to you.
it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. I love getting connected with people like doing rad shit. You know what I mean? And I'll give you a couple of minutes to introduce what you do, man, because it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no worries, man. But first of all, how did you hear about me? Because I think you messaged me through the website, which is pretty cool because, like, I don't know, I set my website up about 3 months ago, I think it was. I
Yeah.
set it up. It's cool that you managed to find me through there, I guess, or Instagram, was it?
I think it was the website. I think.
Oh, cool.
But I somehow got hold of your email address. And I got in contact with you through FAM down here because I'm going to be coaching with these guys down here through the Michael Haynard.
Is that your coaching, sorry?
FAM, so Functional Adaptive Movement. So they're based up in Auckland, but are branching out throughout New Zealand. And they're not currently in the South Island. So it's me and another coach, Eve, like have basically been given the reins to beat the drum down here. So yeah, and I was obviously I'm from UK, I'm from Manchester. I'm coming home for a decent time over Christmas, and I just said to Michael, I was like, give us all the contacts or everything that you know what's happening in the UK, and I'll try and jot around and meet people and talk shit and do what we do.
Well, I'll go back to your original question, which was introduce myself. So my name's Craig. I run a company called Alternative Movement or Alt Movement. I started this, it's about exactly a year ago now. So I've been a disability coach, so to speak, for around about 5 years. I've worked with different cohorts of disabilities, would you like? So like predominantly I work with people with cerebral palsy, people that use wheelchairs. And I've started to sort of branch off on now onto like neurodiversity, like people with autism, Down syndrome, stuff like that. So Alt Movement came about with a conversation I was having with one of my clients. Now, I had no sort of intention of creating something or becoming something bigger than I was. I was happy, doing my one-to-ones, working with people on that sort of level. And it was just a conversation I was having with one of my clients one day, and I was just talking about like stuff that he was able to be a part of, like in regards to like group training, becoming a member of a club or something. And he was saying there's nothing around here. And I go to frame football, which is basically football, but for people using frames essentially. And but other than that, like he was sort of getting a bit older, and the guys that was in this class or this frame football club was sort of quite young, sort of like early teens, like 12, 11, 10 years old sort of thing as well. And I was like, nah, there's got to be something out there. There's got to be something out there. There's got to be a club. There's got to be something. I went, give me a couple of days. Let me go away. I'll have a little search around the area and I'll put you in touch with some people. And lo and behold, I didn't find anything. I found 2 clubs, and it was like one was like a swimming club. But it wasn't like a big swimming club. It was like quite a small swimming club. And I didn't feel like it was, they only run it for like a 45-minute session. I didn't feel that was long enough for someone with a disability. And, and he wasn't really interested in swimming anyway. And I found another club, which was like a multi-activity club, but that was more sort of, it's quite wishy-washy. I don't like to use that term, but it was sort of, a few people sitting in a room just doing really, really basic stuff, like physio exercises, so to speak. And I come back to him, I was like, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's nothing in this area. There was some like wheelchair basketball clubs closer to London and further over Colchester way. I don't know if you know Colchester too well.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit out of his reach. I was like, shit, okay. So there's nothing. I went, there must be something. There must be something we can do. There must be some alternative, hence where the name come from, alternative sort of club we can put together where we can bring people with disabilities and, do some cool shit. Because I feel like disability training, as I said, quite wishy-washy. It's a bit lame, so to speak. And this was terms he was using as well. So it's not just me saying, oh, it's lame shit, but it was terms he was using as well. And I was saying, okay, let's put something together. So I put the feelers out. I started an Instagram page called Alternative Movement. And I'd done something that I wasn't very comfortable with, which was speaking on camera. So I'd never liked filming myself. You probably know yourself when you first started out, listening to your own voice, you're thinking, Jesus Christ, do I actually sound like that? So I felt so strong and I felt so passionate about this idea, this concept. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna put myself out there and expose myself. So I did. I literally, in this spot right now where I am, I recorded a video on my Instagram saying who I am, what I do, my qualifications, my credentials, my experience. And I said, look, I'm looking to put together some sort of adaptive training club, whatever that was. So originally it was a wheelchair weightlifting club that I created, wheelchair weightlifting. And the response I got back from sort of the community within the area was like, holy shit, this is something we want to be a part of. This is something we want to do. Cool. Okay, let's do it. Let's put this together. So I sort of looked around the area for like local halls and stuff that I could hire. It wasn't ideal because, as you know, UK village halls, they are literally UK village hall. You know, floors smell like beer. You know, they're a bit backdated. They're not a cool environment. But I thought I've got to start somewhere. So lucky enough, I found a local village hall, and I started it out there, running these small group sessions. At first, it was like, I don't know, I had 2 or 3 people. They was my regular clients, and they was the ones that was more confident in coming along to these sessions. And at the time, I still am, but I was coaching at a gym called Supreme Being, and it was like a strength and conditioning gym. But at the time, it wasn't ideal to bring it into there because of the getting into the place. It wasn't suitable. Like, there wasn't wheelchair access. It wasn't accessible. There wasn't a car park area. There was, but because it was on like an industrial estate, there wasn't like designated parking. So I couldn't take that risk. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to stuff this on the village hall. A little bit later down the line, as it started to grow, I started to get a bit more interest in these village halls. And it sort of got up to about 5 to 6 people coming along to these classes. The gym that I was working at transitioned into CrossFit. So moved into a new facility, a little bit closer to my house, which is fantastic. Much bigger floor space. And obviously it's come with the CrossFit name as well, which, you know, adds a lot of layers, a lot of value to the service itself. And that was it. Like, moved into the CrossFit gym, CrossFit Farrock. And it just sort of exploded from there. Once, obviously, you know, I started putting more videos up on my social media of people actually seeing, now we're in a pretty cool gym. We're using barbells, we're using dumbbells, we're using like big rigs, we've got Olympic lifting platforms, we've got, you know, the assault bikes, the rowers, the ski ergs, all this sort of stuff. And it's just grown from there. I've got people now traveling in. So I don't know if you know exactly where I'm based. I'm based in Grays, so probably about, I don't know, 20 miles, maybe an hour out from London. I started getting people messaging me from London saying, love what you're doing, I want to come down. So I've got people now traveling twice a week, 3 times a week, all the way from London, like of an evening, of a Saturday, I had a couple of guys travel down today from London to come to this class, this group session. And I thought, holy shit, like I've done something here. Like I've found something that's not been tapped into that is a real big need in the area. And it's really cool that I'm be able to offer this opportunity to people that, I've had people come to my class with CP or cerebral palsy that have said, I've never met anyone with CP before. And I was like, how has that happened? How have you gone your whole life with never actually meeting someone else with the condition that you have? And it's really cool. Like, we've got people coming in, people that never wanted to train. There's one young girl that comes and trains with us. She lost one of her legs to sepsis. 26 years old she is. She lost it just under 2 years ago. Never trained before, hated training, you know, typical, like, fuck the gym, like, I'd rather do bicep curls with a cake than use a barbell sort of thing, you know, that sort of attitude. And now she's like my biggest spokesperson, man. Like, she absolutely loves the class. Like, every single week she's like, I've come into your class. And I think it's not just the training, because the training works. Like, I've got people doing some really cool stuff. And, you know, with yourself, if you stick to a program, if you stick to training, you're only going to get stronger, as long as it's following a linear progression, etc., etc. But now I'm starting to see that. But it's not only the training aspect that's really added value to what I do, it's the community aspect as well. Like, all these people come together once a week and they're all in the same boat. And the thing is that in the class, because I run the class alongside your able-bodied class or your regular CrossFit sessions, which I wanted to do, I wanted to sort of almost, they need to be separate. They need to be separate because the requirements of each class is different, but I felt it would be really cool to be able to run them 2 sessions along side by side. So I wouldn't necessarily run the able-bodied class. I'd strictly run my class with a couple of assistant coaches. But having the ability to integrate the two sort of took out that stigma of the disability. It's like, you're coming into the gym, you are, for all intents and purposes, another gym member. You're not a person with a disability. That shit's left at the door. You're coming in to train hard. You're an athlete. You're an adaptive athlete, which is A big thing that I like to refer to my clients as is adaptive athletes. I think that's just such a cool term rather than saying, oh, person with a disability or person, you're an adaptive athlete. It just, it takes away that stigma that's sort of left with it. And I think it's really cool as well, like just in that local area, I've built a little bit of a name for myself, which is kind of cool as well. So, and it's opened these guys up to more opportunities. Where I'm at now, so that's growing. That's ticking along. We're actually going to a competition. I don't know if you've heard of NFG or National Fitness Games in UK. Yep. Yeah. So we're going to that. We're going to the Adaptive Games next week. About 20 of us. So I've got 7 guys competing, which is super freaking awesome. So hopefully I'm going to shoot down there and impress them when I rock up with 20 people deep. So we're doing like little outings and stuff like that. So that's growing. And now I'm looking at going into schools. So I've got a school starting with me next week. It's an SEN school, so but this is quite a lower level. So we're working with people with quite severe disabilities, like non-verbal. The only movement you can really get them to do is sort of like passive movement, so sort of like helping them actually lift their arms up above the head and stuff like that. So that's my next goal, is to get into schools and start this at a younger level, so that we can, as obviously they get older, then they're sort of, they're growing along with the lifestyle and the sort of the ethos of what alt movement is. And my ultimate goal would be to actually have this as part of like some schools' curriculum as well. So actually go into schools, send coaches into schools, and to be able to offer this, because I feel like it's going to offer tremendous value. And yourself, exercise, it does wonders for the mindset, it does wonders for the body, it does wonders for just your overall quality of life, regardless of whether you're disabled, whether you're able-bodied or whatever. Like it just offers so much value. And I can go on about this all day. I'm constantly drumming it into people's head, and I get super passionate about it because I know it works. I've done this for a long time. I've done this for well over 10 years, and I've seen the benefits. I've seen the benefits across the board, regardless of what I've worked with. So so that's where I am at the moment. And in such a short space of time, with alt movement being born, like it's been just slightly over a year. I am in schools now, so that's my next sort of my next step, so to speak. Hopefully that's answered your question of what I'm doing and what I'm about.
Nah, brother, that's so beautiful, man. Someone who's just thrown themselves in at the deep end, and we know fitness to be the catalyst, right? Like that physical aspect is usually the thing that sets off that domino effect of people helping themselves in everyday life, right? It changes their whole mentality, changes the community they're in. It just changes their life. How cliche it sounds, it does. It changes their life. And
I'm saying quite cheap times, going on about it, but I know it works.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like 100%, and I think the community aspect is probably one of the biggest things that you're providing. Yeah, I really would. Because like, especially this part of the population, right? They're stigmatized. It's kind of cast out towards the fringes of like, we like to not think about this. But now you're integrating it as just part of the whole circle. It's like, hey, come on in. You're an athlete. But it's the same if someone's got a bung knee, right? Oh, you can't squat below parallel today. No problem. You're going to do some box squats. Or we're going to work on the hip hinge today rather than a knee flexion. Great. Fantastic. Someone's got a bung shoulder. We're going to address that. Someone's in a wheelchair. We're going to address that. It's the same. It's a scalability. It's adaptability. It's an alternative movement.
These are the exact words I use to people, like especially coaches, when I'm sort of trying to educate coaches around disability training and adaptive training. It's like you talk to them, right? Okay, how would you work with this person in the wheelchair? And you always see that like initial fear in their eyes. It's like, oh, well, what the fuck am I going to do? This guy's going to explode if I get them to do some sort of exercise, or they're going to hurt themselves. I'm like, right, listen, okay, right, let's take the disability aside. This guy's not got cerebral palsy. Okay, this is your client. You've trained him for years. Okay, he's broke his leg. Now he's in a wheelchair. What do we do? Okay, I'll do this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, there we go. Scale it. As if he's got injury. Don't treat it as if he's got a lifelong condition, which he has, obviously, but like don't treat it any differently than you would an injury. And exactly as you just said.
Yeah, and you've got to put the human back in humanity, right? Like you've got to be able to communicate with these individuals as individuals. Like a lot of people, especially like new into the industry, right, which is understandable, will be like a cat in headlights and be like, oh fuck, like, but what can I say? What can I not say? I was like, dude, that's a human being. All right. Yeah. You're a human being too. They're gonna fuck up just as much as you, probably more, right? Because they're gonna want to do things that they might not be able to do. And that's fine. All right, we go in, we learn on the dance floor, we figure it out, and we give each other a high five, and we come back in tomorrow. you know, and that's all it is, man. Take the expectation out, go in, have fun. Did they smile? Did they break a sweat? Did they move? And that's it, mate. Like if they've ticked 3 of those boxes, like it's win-win-win.
Yeah, you're laughing, and I think that's quite an important aspect of it as well. So I'm sort of in the process of creating a course at the moment. It's taken a bloody while because there's a lot of shit I want to put in there, but at the same time, I need to sort of condense it. Inclusive language. So I've created a section on inclusive language, and it's not to say that you've got to tiptoe around stuff, but it's just to give a coach a bit of a heads up in maybe some of the terminology they use. For example, okay, today's workout, we've got shuttle runs. Oh fuck. I said run. These guys can't walk. Oh my god! And that's more so they're probably used to it. Let's go for a walk. Like their parents probably say, "We're going for a walk. You come in," like, you know, and they don't bat an eyelid about it. But for the coach's perspective, to say like run or walk to an athlete, it could be a little bit like, "Oh crap! I've just said something that might offend someone," and give them that awkward feeling. So it's just learning how to say, right, instead of shuttle runs, why don't we just call them shuttles? You know, try and rephrase it a little bit more for the coach's point of view. So I think that's super important of how to onboard. Obviously, you need to know certain factors about the individual when you're onboarding a client, like obviously their disabilities, their impairments, etc., injuries, etc. But at the same time, you don't want to make that the sort of their identity, so to speak. So yeah, this section I'm creating is being very carefully put together, but it's how to communicate, how to onboard, what sort of words to use, like box jumps. Okay, instead of box jumps, is transitions or you know, be creative with it. Like it's very exploratory at the moment. I think that's what's really cool about this is a lot of PTs, coaches don't get the opportunity to be a pioneer of something. And I feel like this is really cool. Even though there is adaptive trainers out there, it's still very new. So I feel very honored that I get to be one of these guys that's like a pioneer of exercise. Like, you know, most things have been created, like bodybuilding, like powerlifting, all these different ways of training have been sort of already created. And I feel like this is still on that fringe of being developed. So yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of that as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's also not being afraid to like fail a little bit, right? Of saying like, hey, we're gonna try something, blah blah blah, get in the dance floor, get super passionate, pumped up. And if you say something that might have been able to have been said a little bit better, right? It landed a little bit on the wrong foot. You'd be like, oh, apologies, guys, I fucked up there. All right, I dropped the ball. All right. And then we go again. You know, it's like you don't have to be bloody perfect to take a
No.
class. Like just get in there, figure it out. And I think the whole point of looking at your language is super important. Super important when you're coaching able-bodied athletes, right? Even just adults, never mind kids. And then you bring in all the other stuff, right? It's like communicating in a way that you're going to understand it, not the way I want to communicate it. Right. So it's like how does this sound coming out of my mouth, but how does it sound coming through your ears?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I could explain something to you like quite technical, and you go, yeah, got it. I understand that. I understand percentages of 1 rep maxes. I understand exactly what you're saying just by describing it to me. Whereas not everyone understands that, so you've got to sort of not dumb it down, so to speak. But I always say if you should be able to teach something to a child.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, you should phrase it or communicate in a way that that the child can understand it, and then that way, if a child can understand it, an adult will definitely understand it. Obviously, talking to them like a child or a baby, but you know, you get the idea. Sort of simplifying things in order for someone to grasp the concept of what you're trying to get across.
100%, man. We do the same thing when we go into the GP practice. You know, don't use all those big Latin words with me, man. You know, tell me what I need to do. You know, tell me very specifically what I need to do in very precise steps. You know what I mean? You know, so it's like,
I always love that when you see a new coach, especially like they go in, they've just come fresh out of their qualification. They've got all these.
Me dead.
They go up and they go and try to explain this stuff, and you see the members' face. They're like, "What's this dickhead talking about? You've lost me at lost me at that word."
Especially in weightlifting, right? Like everybody likes to swing dick, and it's like, all right, team, I want you to be able to hit the triple extension, and the third pull is really. I'm like, dude, people don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, or it's like, oh, I want you to squeeze your hamstrings. It's like people don't know how to do it. Tell them.
So I coach CrossFit classes as well, and so I was teaching. What was it the other day? I was teaching power clean. Oh no, squat cleans, and I said, right, okay, guys, what we're going to do? And I said triple extension, and I sort of thought for a second. I went, hold up, does anyone actually know what a fucking triple extension is? So I went, stop the class, put your barbells down a sec. Does anyone know what an actual triple extension is? Because you've probably heard it loads of times. They're like, I ain't got a clue. Right, okay, let's break this down, guys. Let me explain to you what a triple extension is. Because once again, you're so close to you listen to like podcasts, you listen to people talk, you go to seminars, you go to courses, and to you, like triple extension, of course I know what that is. Like, but you've got to remember you're dealing with like Gen Pop. So Gen Pop, I'm not going to know what that terminology is. Okay, let's strip it back. Know the word, get them to know the word, but strip it back so they actually understand what the movement is itself. Get them to, do a clean with a ball, or however you decide. Get them to jump. Okay, that's a triple extension. You've extended
100%, man. And it just goes into the point of like learning your athletes, right? And if you are like a contractor coach, right, and go around different gyms rather than run your own place, it's really important to understand how that gym has been created, right? And the terminology that they use, and then kind of foresee any problems if I come in and be like, right, triple extension, right? And they've just been like, I want you to jump. I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to use the word jump now. Or if you go into a weightlifting gym and they're like super specific, everybody knows terminology, and you just come in and be like, all right, team, I just want you to like pick it up. They're like, what? You want me to do what now? I need specific details. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, it's just learning the people in front of you. And, it goes the same with neurodivergence and differently abled people, right? Like, it's learn this individual, and don't expect yourself to get it exactly right every time. Even if you've known this person for 10 years, you're still going to fuck up. And I think the best thing for a coach is literally stand in front of the class and like, listen, guys, like, I'm going to fuck up just as much as you will. If I do, please trip me up with it. Just be like, hey, Alex, like, you said this, didn't really land. Especially me, man. I'm going to say a lot of jokes. I'm going to say a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to be PC. I'm never not going to crack a joke. And if it doesn't land, tell me, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, thank you very much. Like, because I can only ever see the world through my eyes, right? And same with yours. And that's where I think it's so important to just be able to communicate effectively. And I'm so buzzing that you've put that into your course, man. I think that's incredible. I've not seen it anywhere else. The great coaches that I've had the pleasure of working alongside or underneath have had that discussion with one another and been like, hey, team, like effective communication and in coaching, maybe think about this, this, and this. And we just kind of like spitball it, right? But in terms of hard written down in a course, not seen it anywhere, man.
No, I think that's super important because, I've learned this is all like found knowledge that I've got. I've never really done. I'm always very open to people. I've got a CrossFit qualification. I'm a level 3 PT. I've got a few workshops, courses, etc. I've done like a leisure business management course, but I've got no specific courses in disability training because I felt like there wasn't anything that really embodied it. It was very, surface level, and all the information I've got is just found through just trial and error. And I always say that in classes, like any workout, all right, within an adaptive class, it could go absolutely tits up. Like I've done workouts that I've like, it looked absolutely beautiful on a bit of paper. Like, oh, that looks fucking awesome. This is such a cool workout. And I've gone and done it in the session. I've literally stopped the session halfway through, gone, stop. We're not doing this anymore. We're doing something else. And I'll just change it because it's not worked. And then I'll put that down, put that in my book, and that'll be something that I won't ever do again. Or I'll learn from it and slightly tweak it a little bit. And and I think that's important for coaches to have that humility in regards to like, if you make a mistake, shit, if I don't know an answer to something, I won't go and blag it. I can only blag so much, but I'll always say to someone, look, I don't know that right now. Give me a couple of days, I'll come back to you. And I'll always get back to that person. So look, I found this bit of information, let's try that, or go ahead and try this. And the same for any clients I've picked up. I've not worked with every disability. How many disabilities are there in the world? Probably hundreds of thousands of different disabilities. And they'll come, like I say, with cerebral palsy, it's an umbrella. Like you've got different levels of cerebral palsy. Like you have people that affected lower half, people that affected one side, people that affected upper half, people that affected all 4 limbs. But then within that category, there's loads of other different categories, and they could have other different ailments like epilepsy. They could have other conditions that are affected by it. And it's very exploratory. It's very exploratory. And there's no sort of one size fits all. And I think that's the beauty of adaptive training. It's there's not a right or wrong way to do it, but there's a safe and unsafe way to do it. Which is really cool. So no one can call me out for doing anything wrong because I'm learning.
That's the point, man. That's the point, man. Just getting out there, doing something, trying. I don't know if you know him, big in the CrossFit scene, big mentor of mine and many other people around the UK, Carl Steadman, right? And
Yes, I know. I
I
don't know
love
in
that
person.
man. Fucking so good, right? And I remember in one of the seminars I did with him, he just turned around. We're all trying to nitpick and trying to push everybody and, just trying to correct, quote unquote, every
Mhm.
fault that we can find. And he just literally just looks at everybody as like, no one died from lack of hip extension. And it just like silenced the room. And he was like, did have people have fun? Yeah. Was there a smile on the face? Yeah. Did they improve? Yeah. Did they learn something new? Yeah. Was it the best hour of their day? Oh, maybe they had a smoking hot day afterwards. So maybe we were at second best hour. But if you're ticking all these boxes, all you gotta do is tick one box, right? Did they come in today and did you ask them how their day is and they're able to communicate with another human being? Boom, that's a massive win. We're not even started the 60-minute session yet. That's a massive win, right? And then did they learn something new? Did they have fun? Did they move around? Did they meet their mates? All these things, like that's where the important parts are. Yeah, granted, as our job dictates, then when we leave that session, we're gonna have to send ourselves crazy to see how we can improve upon that session, right? But at the same time, it's like don't expect perfection.
No, not at all. And I think the key to any program, once again, we can have all bells and whistles program. It can look absolutely fantastic on paper, but the key to that program working is adherence.
Mm.
So if someone doesn't adhere to that program, it's not going to work, of course. And so the community aspect of that sort of thing does get people coming back, coming back to meet their mates, coming back to have a laugh, crack a joke with the coach, enjoy themselves during the session, and everything else, is just an added extra,
I completely agree. Brother, I got 3 questions.
Yes, go.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you ever received?
Oh, shit. uh, The one thing that really sticks out to me, I don't know if this is probably applicable, but I remember my granddad when he taught me how to drive. So we used to go out, and one piece of life advice he gave me was treat everyone on the road as if they're an idiot. So that's the first thing that popped into mind. Never had a crash.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's great advice, man.
Yeah. Obviously, not everyone's an idiot, but I was treating everyone as if at any point they're going to crash into me.
Yeah, you got to drive for other people. Like, especially back home, like, here there's less than 5 million people, mate. Back home, there's close to 70, right? Like, there's so many people, so many cars, so much moving. And you're like, okay, great. So I have to drive this vehicle for everybody else around me. So, yeah, that is sound advice. And in a
Well,
very
mate, it's
British way.
that stuck with me since the day he told me that. I remember he took me out my first lesson at lesson 1, treat everyone like they're an idiot. That's sweet. Okay, never had a crash. Touch
Amazing.
wood, touch wood.
I'm going to steal that. Yeah, touch wood.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
What's the worst piece of life advice you ever received?
Mate, you put me on the spot, man. I don't know. Worst piece of life advice. I don't think I've really got one. Any bit of advice has always been. I've always taken value from it, whether it's been good or bad, I guess. So I don't think I've ever had something that's really screwed me up. I can't really answer that one. Sorry, man.
No, don't apologize, man. Like that's still a moral in that story, like being able to take some
Yeah.
little piece of wisdom, whether it's like, hey, that was
I think there's wisdom in anything, and like, no matter what that advice is, like even if it's absolutely terrible advice, you might decide not to listen to that advice, and then in actual fact, that's been good advice because then you've not made the mistake that she was. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I understand, man. Don't worry about it. What's 3 words you tell your younger self?
3 words. Mm. I, I don't. Do you have many people pause this long on these questions?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
This is real time, man. This is no scripts. We're not the BBC here, mate. CNN. Go fuck yourself. Like we just talk, real time. Think as long as you need, man.
I don't know. I guess enjoy the ride.
Nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily go back and give myself any advice like change this, change that, because everything I've done up until this point has led me to this point. So I don't think I'd give myself any advice, younger self, say change this, change that, do this, invest this, or whatever. I'd just say enjoy the ride. And I did. I enjoyed myself when I was younger, and they got to a point where I was like, you know what, sort your shit out, stop being a dickhead, and get yourself together. And everything I've done has put me up to this point. So yeah, that would be my 3 words.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
That's good. I'm going to think about
that. Yeah.
They usually stay with me for at least a couple of days. The answer to these questions. Like, I'm one of those slow burners. Mentally, I like to digest things, think over it. Hence why I ask people the same 3 questions, right?
Yeah. I love that. Like, I'll be listening to a podcast and there'll be just like one phrase or sentence like I'll hear in the morning, and that's it. Boom, that stuck with me for the week, and that's completely changed everything. Like the way I coach, the way I communicate with people, everything. So, yeah, I definitely know the impact that can have.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it kind of plants a seed, right? And these branches just kind of come off in all these directions. We're like, oh yeah, okay. And if you're able to attack it with an open mind and nurse that thought, like you could end up in the whole array of directions.
For sure, man, for sure.
Well, brother, whenever I do get home, which will be like early December, I will be jetting around on the old National Railway around the UK. Make sure I see people throwing it down, helping out, talking shit. So, mate, if you're up for it, I'd love to come down to the gym that you're at.
Yeah, man.
We'll throw down personally. We'll help some people, and we'll talk more shit with a beer on this thing that's called a podcast, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm up for that, dude. Listen, you can come to one of the adaptive classes and realize the adaptive classes are not easy.
Hell no, mate. Hell no. Yeah, I'm going to be going up to Auckland next week. Yeah, okay. Going intensive with them. Jumped on a course, which is online. I'll be done in like 2 weeks. And then, I'll get like a month and a half, 2 months. And then it's back home and just be like, beat the drum, man,
Nice, man. Yeah, definitely. We'll link up. Yeah, as soon as you're back, let me know.
We'll Amazing, brother. I appreciate your time so much.
No worries, dude.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Awesome. You too, buddy.
Bye, everybody.
Peace out.